Hi folks, I am Sumukh from Polydojo, and in this video I'll be walking you through creating your first approval workflow. When you log into Polydojo, your home screen will look something like this. I am currently logged in as a demo user, Hank Green, as a member of Hank's demo organization. In my organization, there are 3 members, Hank, Ian, and Joanna. I'm going to click the home button here to go back to the home screen, and I'm going to go to workflows. Let's click create, starting from scratch. For this demo, let us set up a very simple expense reimbursement workflow. Okay. In front of us now is a blank workflow. A workflow is a sequence of stages where every stage corresponds to a form. For example, the first stage could be a reimbursement request, the second stage could be reimbursement approval. If approved, the third stage would be reimbursement payout, and the fourth and final stage could be getting the initiator to acknowledge that his request has been completed, whether it's been approved, whether it's been denied, whether he's got the money, so on and so forth. We'll quickly click Add Stage. Now, you can choose a form corresponding to this stage. I don't already have a reimbursement request form pre-built, so I'm going to set up a new form. I'm going to call it ER1, ER being short for expense reimbursement, and I'm going to call it the reimbursement request form. That's enough. Okay. Now, if you're not familiar with form creation, if you've not experimented a little bit with the form creator interface, I encourage you to watch this video walkthrough. It'll show you all the different aspects of creating forms. Since the goal of this demo video is to show you how to create workflows, I'm going to create an extra simple reimbursement request form. I'm only going to ask 2 questions. The first being, how much did you spend? Right? That's the first question. How much did you spend? We'll make that compulsory. And instead of asking detailed questions like date of expenditure, cost center, upload invoice, upload receipt, instead of doing all of those things, I'm just going to add a simple field for now, a long answer field, and call it expenditure details. Okay, let's make that compulsory. In reality, of course, you could add a bunch of other fields like cost center, etc. Let's save this. Let's go back to the workflow and add the next stage. The next stage, of course, is going to be reimbursement approval. Let's set up a form for that. ER2 reimbursement approval. Again, I'm going to create a very simple form, not too many fields, just 2 fields. I'm going to ask a multiple choice question. I'm just going to call it, do you approve? And the options here would be yes and no. We'll put those options on a single line and we'll make the question mandatory. Done. I'll just add one more field called comments if any. Okay, done. Let's save that form and let's go back to the workflow. Now, we have to set up branching logic. We'll do that later. But in case this gets approved, it will go for reimbursement payout. So let's create a form for that, ER3 reimbursement payout. We're assuming, of course, that this is approved. If it's not approved, we'll set up a system to skip this payout form. So we add a field and we'll just say, maybe ask a couple of questions, mode of payment, and maybe one other question. So mode of payment could be something like by check or check, depending on how you spell it. Let's say it's a wire transfer, and maybe it could be by cash, etc. You could always just list down other options here, and they will become options in the question as well. We made that compulsory, and let's put those on a single line. Let me just add one more option here for other, because I don't think this is quite an exhaustive list yet. Okay, but of course, I hope you realize you can add more options based on your company's workings. Let's just add one more for capturing the date of payment, maybe. But really, instead of doing that, because if I add a field for date of payment, I probably have to add one for amount paid, for check number, and so on. So let's just do what we did last time. I have a single field called payment details. And maybe we can instruct the person filling this out to include check number, wire transfer, etc. as applicable. Okay. In reality, of course, you'll just flesh out separate fields for all the things that are important for you to capture about the reimbursement payout. I'm going to go ahead and save this. There's only one quick thing left to do, which is to inform the person who made the request about whether the request was completed, approved or denied, particularly to inform them if it was approved or denied. Again, I don't have an intimation form built out yet, so I'm going to create one. Let's call this ER4, Initiator Intimation. Okay, and we simply want the person to say that they've been notified of the status of the request. So I'll just add a checkbox saying I've been notified. You could change the text of this checkbox to be something else if you prefer. And I'm going to go ahead and save this. Only one field for this form. Oopsie doopsie, I clicked the home button by mistake. I meant to click the back button. No worries, I'm going to click the back button now. And here I'm going to click back to workflow. Okay, so now we have the rough structure of our workflow set up. It starts with the reimbursement request, goes to reimbursement approval. If approved, we would want it to go to reimbursement payout. And in either case, whether approved or not, we want it to go back to the initiator, telling him that his request has been completed, and that's the status of the request. Whether it's been approved or denied, we should be telling him. Okay, now the reimbursement request form can be filled by any user in our organization. So it could be Hank, it could be Ian, it could be Joanna. So assigned user is any user may initiate this workflow. That looks good. The remaining options, decision field and next stage, you can just leave them the way they are. We'll get to them in a second. Okay. Now, for the principal form, for the second stage, is the reimbursement approval form. That is to be filled out always by Hank. He's the boss of this organization, the current user that I'm logged in as, so he's going to be filling this out. And of course, there's a decision that Hank makes in that form. The decision is, do you approve? Now notice, the minute I switched from none to do you approve, the number of next stages changes. It changes from just one next stage option to two options. Because now it's asking me, what should the next stage be if the decision was yes, if do you approve was yes, in which case the next form or the next stage should be payout. And if it was no, the next stage should simply be initiator intimation. So this is how we skip ER3. We jump straight from ER2 to ER4. And that's done. This stage here should be filled out by Ian. He's the person who works in accounts. So I'm going to go into Ian's account here. I'm going to choose, sorry, I'm not going to log into Ian's account. I'm still logged in as Frank, the admin of this organization. But I'm going to choose Ian as the user here. And there's no decision over here. The next stage can be automatic. And let's just say done. So by the way, when the next stage is automatic, it just chooses the stage that comes numerically after the stage. So after 3, it goes to 4. And you have this little idea here that the workflow will automatically advance to the next stage. Finally, this is the last stage, initiator intimation. It's to be filled out by the initiator, whoever the initiator is. There's no decision field, and the next stage can be automatic. And in this case, since there is no stage that comes after this, the workflow will automatically terminate. So let's just click done, and our workflow is now ready to run. Let's save this. Okay, now in this demo, I am concurrently using 3 browsers. So I'm using Firefox as Hank, but I'm also using Chrome, in which I'm logged in as Ian, and Opera, in which I'm logged in as Joanna. So we've just created a workflow using Hank's account here. If I go to workflows from Ian's account, you'll see the workflow will show up over there as well. There it is. And if I go into workflows from Joanna's account, the same will be true there. Now, when Joanna clicks on expense reimbursement, you will see that she does not have the option to edit it, but she does have the option to run this workflow, which means she can start this workflow, which essentially means that she can apply for expense reimbursement. So let's say she chooses to do that, so she just has to say run. When she runs the workflow, the first form of the workflow opens up, and let's say she spent $100 on sample expense. Or maybe she spent that on a client dinner. That makes a little more sense. And I will note in brackets that this is a test request. Okay, let's submit that. Okay, that's done. She gets to click close window. I hope you got a chance to notice that. If not, don't worry. I'll show you in a second that we're going to have that screen again. Now, because we set up that all approvals go to Hank, we should now go to Hank's account. And if I go to the home screen, you will notice that there's this thing over here called folios. A folio is essentially just a request that's come into you. If I open folios, it updates, and you see now we have a red 1 here in the menu, which is telling Hank that currently he has 1 pending item, and here's that item. It's a expense reimbursement request coming in from Joanna Green. If he clicks on the request, he gets to see what the request is. Now, in this case, it was a really short form for the demo, but in reality, this will probably be a far more fleshed out form. So he just says next step. The system tells him that the next stage, the highlighted one, is reimbursement approval. He just has to click on reimbursement approval, and he gets taken to the reimbursement approval form. Now he gets asked, do you approve? Let's say he does approve or he does not approve. Now, if he does approve, this will go to Ian for paying out the reimbursement. And if he says no, it'll just short circuit Ian and go straight to Joanna, informing her that her request was denied. Now, to show you this short circuiting or skipping of the payout stage, I'm going to choose no. And I'm going to again make a note, this is a demo denial. Okay. Submit that. So again, the screen shows up. In this screen, you simply have to say close window in most cases. Now again, we are back in Frank Green's account here, and you see that there's no more pending stuff inside Frank's folios, right? So this number, which was a red 1, is now back down to a green 0. If I go to Joanna's account though, here, and if she opens her folios, you'll see now that there is a matter, a folio here, and you can see that the last action was by Hank Green. It was just a little while ago, and you can see the progress bar is moving up. If Joanna opens that folio, she will see her original request first. So we'll just wait a second. Yes, so there we go. Here's the original request that Joanna made, and we can also see that Hank Green has not approved this. So the next step, as the system is suggesting, is initiator intimation. The reimbursement payout stage has been skipped, and all Joanna has to say that she's been notified of the denial of her sample request. And I just say close window, and that's the end of that. The workflow has finished running. Now there is going to be another aspect called the folio out box. Now Joanna does not have access to this yet because Hank, the system admin, has not given her access to it. But Hank himself, if I just go into Firefox, will have an outbox. And here we see the expense reimbursement request which had come in from Joanna. I can always open the request and I can see that the request was denied. It's all right here. It has a time trail of when, who said what, and everything is nice and kosher. I hope you had a good idea now of how this system works. We just define all the stages in the workflow, and the process and the system, will just let you run that workflow via folios. Now, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me at sumak@polydojo.com. I'll be more than happy to answer all the questions that you have about this video or otherwise. Just reach out to me and I'll get back to you ASAP. Thank you so much for watching.